Perfect. I think
You know
we
what
are live
nervousness
now.
is? Nervousness is just the feeling before you're about to do something great.
Thank you, Kiri. Love the support. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Where is everyone from?
We'll get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Katya, and I am one of the customer success managers here at inFlow. I've been here for about, I think, 3 to 4 years. And as I was mentioning to Kiri earlier, I think this is my 11th webinar that I've hosted/co-hosted. So yeah, this is fun as always. And I have my lovely and wonderful teammates, Bobby and Kiri, with me here today. If you guys want to do a bit of an introduction.
Yeah. Go, Bobby.
Yeah, so this is my very first webinar with inFlow. I am the customer support team lead. So if you've ever been on chats with me, or you might have heard, seen my name on a few of our tickets or emails, I'm doing my first one. And this is my first year at inFlow. So I'm very excited to be with you. And if there's other UK people, I saw a couple in the chat, represent. There we go.
Love it. Love it. And my name is Kiri. I've been here just over a year. I'm also a customer success manager. I think I have seen a few familiar names. Donald, I see you there. So a few of you might know me as well. And this is probably, I think, my third webinar. So not as seasoned as Kat, but I'm getting there.
Hey, third, that's amazing in 1 year.
That's true. That is
Keep
true.
going. Next one, you're hosting. But yeah, as you guys might already know, our webinar topic today is going to be connecting inFlow with the Shopify world. And I have to say, with my experience as a CSM, this is one of the integrations that we get asked about, I think, the most, at least for me, in terms of training and setup. So hopefully today we'll be able to cover some of the difficult topics and questions that you guys have, and really make it easier for you when you are connecting to Shopify. There you go. So as mentioned, we'll go through what the Shopify integration can do, a few important things that you should know before you actually connect the apps together. Then how you would actually get the inFlow connector app working, and we'll go through these settings specifically. So with the settings, there are going to be 4 main areas, and it's going to be locations, orders, products, and order conflict. So we'll go through each of those settings in detail, explain how they work, and then what you might need when you're setting up. We'll do a demo so that you can see this live. And I find that for those who like to learn visually, this will be the most helpful area, because I'll show you exactly what I'm doing and I'll walk through it and speak as I go through all the steps. And then we have the use cases as the last little bit. So again, as some of you might want to know, what can the Shopify integration do for us? Now, the Shopify integration is meant to streamline your day-to-day tasks, right? So really the goal of having this integration is to avoid double entries so that you don't have to do twice the amount of work. And a few of the things that the integration actually does is, let's say you add a new product onto your Shopify store. If you have that sync turned on, inFlow can pull in that product to your product list on the inFlow side. Let's say then you go ahead and you update that product's information. So things like the quantity, the cost, price, that will then push over to the Shopify side. Now, the main purpose of the integration itself is having those orders come in, right? So if you have your order sync turned on, it's going to bring any orders created in Shopify over to inFlow, and you'll be able to see it in your sales order list. And then the last thing is having your shipping updates be sent back to Shopify. So let's say you're adding some shipping information in inFlow. If you have that specific setting turned on, it will be able to push that information back over to Shopify. So it's connecting back and forth depending on your settings. But again, it's really meant to simplify your day-to-day tasks. Now, there's a few key things to remember before you turn on the Shopify integration. And the number one thing that we always like to tell people is make sure that your product names or SKUs match perfectly in Shopify with the inFlow product names and SKUs, because this is the field that allows the two programs to connect. So let's say you have spaces in your product name or dashes, things like that. You want to make sure it's exactly the same on both programs, because even something as minor as a space can impact the entire integration. The second thing is you want to make sure that your default currency on both programs is the same. Now, if you have multiple currencies, that's okay too. You can set up multiple currencies in inFlow and multiple currencies in Shopify. And I believe we actually have some more information on that in our Shopify knowledge base article, which we'll link at some point in the call today. But as long as you have the default currency the same, everything will work smoothly. And then the last piece isn't particularly mandatory, but it's recommended that you have some sort of locations and pricing scheme set up in inFlow, so that when you actually connect the programs, you'll be able to choose that from the drop-down settings. But the reason I say it's not mandatory is because now with our integration, you can add new locations and new pricing schemes directly from the inFlow connector app on Shopify. Now, let's learn a little bit more about the connector app. So in the past, we used to connect the integration on inFlow's web app, but there were a few changes that needed to be made for the Shopify side. So now our integration settings are located on Shopify's website. And to get there, you will need to install a connector app that will be able to sync this information to each other. Now, on the connector app, like I mentioned earlier, there are going to be 4 headers, so 4 tabs, which are location, product sync, orders, and order conflicts. And each of those tabs is going to have its own set of settings that you're going to need to go through. Now, it's really important that you read through all the settings, even if you don't think it's going to apply to you, because it's not until you actually look at them that you might realize, oh, shoot, I do need that. So we'll go through it in the demo today, and I'll kind of walk through each of these settings so that you can make sure you set it up correctly. Now on to the demo. So let me just make sure I'm sharing my screen correctly. Okay, so I'm gonna have my web app here. Can you guys see it okay? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I've logged into the web app. Now, this is the account that I'm going to connect with. I have previously connected to this, so let me just refresh and make sure I've disconnected one more time. Perfect. Now, we do have a knowledge base article that Kiri has posted in the chats, which has all of these steps that I'm going to go through today. Another way that if you're looking to connect for the first time, we also have steps if you go to our integration settings. So if you go to the web app, so app.inflowinventory.com, log in, and then go to the right side and click on integrations. And then click on Shopify. In here, we have the steps as well. So if you can't find the article that we've posted today, you don't have it saved, all the steps will be listed here, and it's going to tell you to just go one by one. Now, the first step is going to be to log into Shopify, which I have open here in a separate tab. And then you're going to click into Apps, which is in the main menu section on the left side here. As soon as I click into Apps, it's going to give me the search bar, and I'm going to type in inFlow Connector. This will take me to Shopify's App Store. And in here, it's going to be the one that says Archon and then inFlow Connector. And you're going to click Add App. Now, it may take a couple of seconds to load. It's going to go through the installation here, explain some more information, and you're just going to click Install App. Now, once it's installed, right now it didn't ask me if I wanted to give inFlow permissions because I had done this a little bit earlier this morning, but there will be an additional step that's going to ask if you allow inFlow to see this information, and you're going to click yes, allow, and then it's going to go to this page. Now, this is the settings page that I was mentioning earlier. So on here, you'll have, again, 4 different headers that you'll each go through and make sure that it's connected. So we're going to go ahead and look at our locations. Now, in my Shopify store right now, I have 2 locations. I have the manual location and the office location. And for each one of these, I can connect or disconnect them. Now, they're defaulted to be disconnected, so I'm going to go ahead and connect my manual location. And in inFlow, I have one default location right now called manual. So that's why it's automatically picking that. But as I mentioned earlier, if there's a different location that you want to add, you can click on this plus location button, and it's going to allow you to add a new location name. So let's say I'm going to go Toronto. I'm going to click that, and it's going to create. So as soon as I do that, it's going to create that location in inFlow for us. Now, I have a secondary location. If I want, I can keep this off. And when I keep this off, that means any orders coming into the office location on Shopify will not sync over to inFlow. So if you want to keep your orders separate for different locations at Shopify, you have the ability to do that by just connecting or disconnecting. But let's say I do want to connect it, and I want to connect it to a different location that I have in inFlow. I would select that location in here, and let's just say, there we go. Calgary. And I'm going to set that up. Great. Now, we do have a secondary option, which is connect to all inFlow locations. In my particular example, because I have 2 locations in Shopify, I actually don't want to connect to all inFlow locations, even for one of those, because it's really going to screw up my quantity available. So if you have one location in Shopify, you can connect to one location, or you connect to all inFlow locations. And so if you connect to all inFlow locations, it's going to combine the quantity available of all those locations and display that for your product quantity. If you also have connect to all locations turned on, when your Shopify orders come into inFlow, it will not assign a location. Whereas if you have it connected to one location, it'll know any orders coming in from the manual location on Shopify will come into my Toronto location inFlow. Same with the office location Shopify, it's going to come into my Calgary location on inFlow. So we'll have those connected, and we're essentially just directing where the orders are coming, as well as where the quantity is being pulled from into Shopify. Now that we have our locations set up, we can go on to the product sync. So product sync is all the information about your product details and product information. So the first setting here will be your pricing. Now, if you have your pricing coming in from inFlow, you'll be able to select which of those schemes you want to use. Again, this is one of those things that I mentioned earlier. If you don't have any pricing scheme set up, or you want to add in a new pricing scheme in inFlow, you can just click that option here and type in a new pricing scheme. I'm going to stick with my default normal price here just to make it easy. You can also have a compare at price that's going to show up in Shopify, and this will pull from inFlow as well if you connect it with a pricing scheme. If you leave it blank, it's not going to pull anything in. As we move down, we're going to move over to the push settings. So when you see something say push, in terms of integrations, that means it's pushing information from inFlow to Shopify. So in here, I have by default quantity available selected, but I can also have it push images, barcodes, weight, price, cost, all of that information to Shopify. I just need to make sure it's selected. If I don't have it selected, then it won't push that information. So if I don't want images pushed, it's not going to if I don't have that selected. So just keep that in mind as you're choosing which ones you want to push over. Now, one thing you guys might notice is that descriptions are not in here. Now, descriptions are a field that we cannot push from inFlow to Shopify, just because Shopify has some additional settings that they prevent that and would cause more of a mess if we did try to push. So you'll notice, again, descriptions is not one of those fields that can push over. Now we have this next question just down below that says, if a product isn't found in Shopify, what do you want inFlow to do? So let's say you have the product in inFlow, it doesn't exist in Shopify, so inFlow doesn't know where to push it. inFlow doesn't create new products in Shopify. So what you can have is an integration message, so like an error message on inFlow's web app that will tell you, hey, just so you know, this product doesn't exist in Shopify, and then you can create it in Shopify if you'd like, or you can just dismiss it. But if you commonly create products in inFlow that are going to be separate from what you do in Shopify, you can turn this off so that it doesn't even let you know. So it doesn't give you those messages. So if you know this is going to be a common thing, you can select don't let me know, and then you won't get any messages, and you can just continue on with the way that you normally do things. Lastly, we have this pull settings button at the bottom. Now it is defaulted to be active as soon as you install the app. And what this does is any new products created in Shopify, as well as the stock levels for that product and the product details, they'll get synced over to inFlow. So anything new added, it's best to add it in Shopify first because it'll already pull that sync in. If you don't want that to happen, you want to manage inFlow and Shopify a little bit separately and you don't want those new products coming in, you can deactivate that setting. So it's not necessary to be turned on, but it can be helpful for a lot of people. After that, we're going to move on to order settings. So order settings relates to the sales orders created in Shopify, and that can be customer orders or admin orders. So either of those will get pulled into inFlow. And here you can select how you want the customer name to show up, if you want to add a prefix to your order numbers or just leave it as is. So this is great to add the prefix because it'll keep your inFlow orders separate from your Shopify orders, and you can quickly just filter by that. And then this third setting is really, really important for a lot of people. And I'm going to go through it in our use cases section of the webinar as well. But if you want your orders to be imported as is, meaning unfulfilled into inFlow, you would keep the as is selection on. If you want it to come in already fulfilled into inFlow, so it's going to auto-fulfill them, you want to choose that second option as fulfilled. And so what that will do is it will save you that additional step. If you're not looking to pick and fulfill in inFlow, it'll do that for you. Then we have the shipping settings at the bottom. Those shipping settings, again, are also defaulted to be active, and they will push any carrier information, ship date information, tracking numbers, anything like that from inFlow to your Shopify order. So inFlow now has the capability to allow you to buy labels through Easy Post, and you can add that shipping information directly on your order. So any of that information, if you want that to push over to Shopify, you'll want to make sure this is active. If you are using a different Shopify plugin for shipping, such as ShipStation or anything like that, you would probably want this to be deactivated so that it's not pushing any of that information in from inFlow. So again, if you have any other integrations with Shopify regarding shipping, this will likely need to be deactivated. Lastly, we have the order conflicts settings. And in here, it's pretty simple. It's just asking what will happen if something occurs with your order that doesn't match what you have in inFlow. And so just read through the options and decide on what you would like inFlow to do at that point. So whether you wanted to add an adjustment line or create a taxing scheme if you don't have a matching taxing scheme. Same with the pricing scheme, or can't find a customer. Do you want it to create the customer or give you an error? So choose what will work best for you and just select that. And that will be that last step of setting up your Shopify integration. Once that's done, you'll go ahead and click complete. It's going to ask what inFlow will pull now, or it's going to tell you, actually not even ask, it's going to tell you that any products that don't exist in inFlow will be pulled over, and same with any pending orders. So I'm going to click pull now, and it's going to work in the background. Now, does fulfilled orders deplete inventory? Yes. So that's a great question, Billy. So as soon as your orders are coming in, it will subtract your inventory by that amount that's on the order. So let's say you had 10 units available, an order came in and it autofilled, and that order had 5 units on it, it'll subtract the 5 and you're left over with 5. So yes, it will automatically update your inventory as it autofulfills. Great question. Perfect. So it's still just loading up right now for us, and it's just connecting the two programs. Any other questions in the meantime while we wait?
I was going to say, this has probably been one of the least amount of questions I've seen in a webinar, and I think it's just because you're explaining it so well, in my opinion. I'm not sure if everyone in the chat believes so, but yeah, I was like, wow, they're
Thank
quiet
you.
today. I think they're just all listening really deeply.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. I see, Layla, you mentioned you joined a few minutes late. Where do you find the page you're presenting from? So I'm just going through our own demo account right now, walking through the steps. After the webinar today, we're going to post this on our YouTube channel, and it's also going to be posted on Facebook. So you'll be able to rewatch from there and follow along on your side. And then can you upload only certain products? Unfortunately, no. So it's not going to let you pick and choose which products that you create in Shopify push over to inFlow. It's either all new products or none of the new products. So it's just choosing activating or deactivating that sync setting. So it doesn't give you that option to choose. Can you upload either your whole new inventory or none? Oh, sorry, that was Bobby. She was saying you can upload either your whole new inventory or not. Yes, that is correct. Perfect. And now we got some sort of error. Interesting. We'll take a look at it on the inFlow side, but it looks like everything was completed and I have 40 new or existing orders that have come in. So it's likely with one of those orders. And as you can see, we already have a few of these details in here. Now, this can be due to me not having all the products in inFlow already. So this is something that I mentioned earlier. So if you have certain products in inFlow and not others, there will be these errors. And so depending on your settings, it will give you an error message in here. So there's certain products that I didn't have when connecting that were coming in that I think were deleted off of Shopify after the fact, because this is one of our testing accounts. But that's okay, because we're going to go through a few examples, as if you're starting from scratch. And the first thing I want to take a look at is that product list. So in here, we have a bunch of different products that were brought in from Shopify. So I didn't have any of these products in here before, so I brought all of them in. And if I were to update any of these products, so let's say, let me take one of these, our Smart Scanner 3. Let's say I'm going to update our price. So our normal price is going to go down and we're going to make it go on sale. It's a little bit cheaper, and I'm going to click save. Now, if I were to locate the Smart Scanner on the Shopify side, this is our Smart Scanner 3, and we go down to price, you'll notice it has now updated our price. Because I didn't connect a compare app pricing scheme in inFlow, it's not going to make any changes on that side because we don't have that pricing scheme. But if you wanted to, it'd be something as simple as going back to your Shopify settings. So in the integration settings, and then in the product sync, setting up a compare app pricing scheme. So those small little updates will show up. So let's say I go back to my web app, and I'm also going to change the barcode number. So barcode in here. So it ended it with 169. I'm going to go ahead and change that to @-0. Save. And if I go back to Shopify and I refresh the page, And then we're going to go ahead and scroll down to the bottom. You'll see that the barcode has now updated to include that -0. So again, changes like this to your quantity, to your costs, to your prices, to your barcodes, those will all be reflected, again, as long as you have them checked off in your settings. So it's immediate. As soon as you save that change in inFlow, it's immediately pushing to Shopify. Now, let's say I have an order that comes in, and we're going to go ahead and create an order together. And we'll pull in that same Smart Scanner 3, just to make this example easy. I'm going to go and add it in here. And let's see, customer. Just going to choose a random customer or create one. So what about my name? Test and save. Perfect. Save that. All done. The draft has been created. Now I'm going to go back into inFlow and we'll go to our sales order list. Because your Shopify customers will already be paying for the order, it's going to automatically create. When you're doing it as an admin on the Shopify side, it will then ask you to create and mark it as paid, so it switches from a draft to an order.
While that refreshes, Kat, I know Akshay has one question about that he has to pull from inFlow and add on Shopify. His products he's talking about, I think.
So if you have new products in inFlow, I think the best way would be to import them into Shopify. So we have the ability to export our product details from inFlow and then import that into Shopify, because right now with the integration, it doesn't push new products. So anything created in inFlow needs to already exist on the Shopify side for it to be able to update. Otherwise, you're going to get those error messages that I was getting earlier. Perfect. So I now have this order that came in. We just did a test together, and it's for the Smart Scanner 3. Now, I don't have this currently in stock, so I would probably want to do a purchase order or stock adjustment to ensure that I would have some of this quantity available. But once I do have that, I would fulfill this order, and then that's going to update to the Shopify side. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and adjust my quantity really quickly, just directly on the product page. Okay, and Smart Scanner 3. Go ahead and put in, say, 10 units. Fantastic. And we also have Calgary. So I want to actually update it likely in the Calgary location because that's the one I have connected. Sure. Loading up correctly. Perfect. It's pulling from the Calgary location. And we're going to go ahead and fulfill it. Now I have my shipping turned on as well. So it's going to ask if I want to purchase a label. I'm going to go ahead and skip that label process, but that's popping up because I have Easy Post connected. And so if you are looking to track and purchase shipping labels through inFlow, we do have that ability. And right now, because my shipping updates are turned on for the Shopify integration, anything that I add into this order regarding shipping is going to update on the Shopify side. So I didn't purchase a label, but I can go ahead and in my ship tab, I'm going to add shipping details just so we can see that information in here. So we'll put in FedEx and tracking number. We're going to pretend this is real. Save and save. Now, when I go back to this order, and I actually don't even need to refresh, but I already clicked it. So it's been updated immediately. It's now showing as fulfilled. And you'll be able to see the shipping details just see shipping address and then shipping details right here under FedEx. So that number that I had added, it becomes a link. So that was a fake tracking number, but if you have a real tracking number, you'll be able to click on that. So all of that information got updated, and now my order is completed. So I did all of that in inFlow, and that is, again, one of the use cases. So if you're looking to pick and ship via inFlow, you'd want to have the settings for the order to be set up as is. So that means the order is coming in unfulfilled. So you'd want to, again, fulfill the order in inFlow. It'll push that information to Shopify. But as I mentioned earlier, if you want your orders coming in as fulfilled, you'll then change the setting in Shopify. Let me just go back to the connector in here. So you'd go to orders and you'd want to change it to as fulfilled. Any questions that I've missed?
Who's been on it? I think she's been pretty good.
I think Bobby's been just, answering everything. And thank you, Carrie, as well. That's pretty much it in terms of the integration itself. Again, I believe Carrie or Bobby had linked it a bit earlier. We do have a knowledge base article that goes through all of this information as well, in case you want to take a look at the steps and you just want to have it written out. And then I did have a short section on use cases, but we kind of already went through it in the demo. So the 3 common use cases that I receive is, 1, you're looking to have the order push from Shopify, but you want to manage fulfillment in inFlow. And that's the exact example that we did today. So the orders were coming in unfulfilled. So we had the setting changed to as is. Then I was picking and then shipping in inFlow. I had added my shipping information into inFlow, and then it pushes off to Shopify and updates. Second use case that we have a lot of people use when they have so many orders coming in that they're looking just to have their quantity update. So they're using inFlow not really to manage their picking and shipping, they're using it to just track quantity. And so in that particular case, you might want to turn on the orders to come in as fulfilled, because that will immediately deduct your quantity for you, and you don't have to do any of that manual work in inFlow. So it's just constantly updating it, pushing your quantity available back to Shopify so you can have new customers place orders. Now, one thing to keep in mind, again, is if you don't want inFlow to push any of that shipping information or that you've already shipped and you have as fulfilled turn on, you want to make sure that the shipping setting is deactivated, because if it is turned on, it will mark your orders as shipped as soon as it's fulfilled. So in case you don't want to run into that error, you want to turn off shipping, especially if you're using things like ShipStation or other platforms. Shipping. And then the third case is similar to the first, as I was mentioning, is if you want to manage shipping via inFlow, you can do that by manually entering in the shipping details. Or if you use Easy Post through inFlow, that will update for you as soon as you purchase a label. So I'll input the tracking information, and then that pushes to Shopify. Hopefully that was all clear. I know it might seem a little confusing at the beginning. Any questions? Any other last-minute questions before we move on to the giveaway?
Like I said, I think you are a great explainer, a great teacher.
So
seems to be confused.
Cool. Thanks, Ian. No questions. Great. So yeah, again, if you guys have any other questions that we didn't cover today, feel free to reach out to support@inflowinventory.com or to your CSMs if you need to walk through a workflow or need additional training if you've just started with inFlow. So yeah, do let us know, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you all for joining.
Us.
See ya.
Everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.